Every time you push publish, it's basically an opportunity to maybe change your life forever. I have friends that get 10 times as many views as me, and I make more than they do on YouTube. Me and my friends were here till 2, 3 in the morning, like multiple days, and we all work full time. I tell people all the time, when they make videos, you're like buying stock in your own company, and somehow the company's gaining value. For me, the economic freedom that's come from making content has been something that I never could have imagined.
Welcome to K&S Creators Collective. My name is Scott. I am here with Chris Zep.
Hello.
And you may know Chris from some of his outlets as far as YouTube, Instagram, and then his shop, which is Make Everything. You also might know Chris from the Handmade Podcast with Paul Pinto and Derek from Malden. And finally, maybe you caught him on the History Channel on Assembly Required with Tim Allen. Spoiler alert, he won his episode. You're just an all-out all-star. Love it. And we got a lot to cover here today.
We'll start over in the woodshop. Let's go. Here we have the wood room. So when I opened the business, I was a carpenter at the time. I was a trim carpenter. Kind of as I opened the business, I moved up at that company to be more of a project manager. But you know, this is what I was doing every day. You know, I was like, oh, I'm gonna build furniture and cabinets and all that stuff. So we really focused on the wood shop. Right when I opened, I got my first real welding commission job, which I had no idea how to do at all. It was like, I made this gigantic menorah. A lot of people don't know is like, that is the first welding job that I ever did for money.
But you've been here for 6 years?
6 years.
I'm actually gonna take you a little bit back, not 6 years, but 4 years. You had said at the time, I am still working at, you know, regular 9 to 5 or day job, probably extends past 9 to 5. Like that goal that you set to eventually make this your only thing, where are you out in that development?
It's interesting because I had a very clear plan of transitioning out of my day job at my last job. So I was a project manager in Manhattan. We did like real high-end renovation. So I had already planned like basically 1 year left there, and I was gonna just move into this. I was gonna figure it out. I don't feel like I can leave my current job where it's at. Not only do I wanna see my projects completed, but I need to be there to get them finished. So here I'm in control of my own destiny, and there while I kind of am, things could fall out from under me at any moment, and this place will always be here.
It's kind of the side hustle right now. And everything filters right back into Make Everything. It is self-sustaining, and like people, I feel like, would appreciate to know that you can do both of these things at the same time and make them both successful.
If I could have anything, it would be to run this business and hire the 3 or 4 people that I love working with and be able to pay them enough money that we can all just have like an awesome life. My goal is to be the provider of that dream life. That's why I push so hard with brands, and I push so hard with clients, and I do all the negotiating, I do all the billing, I do all that. They know that one day this phone call is gonna come, and I'm gonna say, hey, call your boss, you're done, and let's go and do this. And I'm gonna build that life for everybody. I'm looking at every angle all the time so that I can be ready to just like have many streams of income. That's the thing that being a content creator has taught me. When I worked as a carpenter, I always did handyman stuff on the side. So I've always had 2 jobs, but that's only 2 streams of income, right? And if you're not working and you're not swinging a hammer, you're not getting paid. As a content creator, deposits come in the bank account, checks show up in the mail randomly almost all the time. So I tell people all the time, when they make videos, you're like buying stock in your own company, and somehow the company's gaining value. Like all you have to do is keep showing up and the company keeps being worth more money.
What does a monthly or yearly income look like for you just through everything with Make Everything?
One of the things that, you know, I've always been super transparent with anybody that asks about is how much money can you really like make as a YouTuber or even just as a fabricator. The YouTube thing, I gotta say, is like a nuance to it, right? Because I have friends that get 10 times as many views as me, and I make more than they do on YouTube. And there's a lot of reasons for that, right? My videos are longer. My videos have a different CPM. So with YouTube, right, it fluctuates every month. But generally, like, I don't make less than $2,000 a month in ad revenue, which is great. And then a big thing for me is I sell a lot of stuff through Amazon affiliate. On the worst month, about $1,000. And then I have sponsors, which I won't say exactly how much each of them pay me, but that adds up to $4,000 to $5,000 a month. Like this year will be better than last year, and last year we did like about $140,000. It took me 3 years of making content, 4 years of having the business before I didn't have to take money out of my bank account that my paycheck got deposited into and put it back into this business. So it's not like I woke up one day and then like all of a sudden I was making all this extra cash, you know? And there isn't really any extra money, because if anybody follows along, they know that I reinvest every dollar back into this place. For me, the economic freedom that's come from making content has been something that I never could have imagined. And if you told me 6 years ago that I'd clear 6 figures ever making videos, then I would have told you that you're crazy. Yep, this is the metal shop. Originally, this was the end of the shop before we did expand into the next room. So we've got some drill presses here, knife grinders over here that I kind of use for a little bit of everything, a cold cutting metal saw, another bandsaw, another bandsaw, another bandsaw, another bandsaw, another bandsaw over there.
I think you've got the picture that you have more than Jimmy.
I might. This is my camera that I shoot all my content on. I shoot everything myself, so having like a little monitor is important for me and being able to kind of like see things as I go. I've got a 1930s power hammer back there. This is an iron worker, which is like a punching machine. And then this big 4x8 fixture table, which is like one of my favorite things in my shop. It's honestly changed my workflow. Basically, with all these holes, you can line up stuff and jigs and like really make stuff perfect.
Now you're a major representative of this community. So you're on the assembly required TV show. How do you feel like TV represents the maker community?
I think that TV can do like a couple different things for you, right? So like I've been asked to be on Forged in Fire 4 different times. 4 different times, they've told me that I wasn't qualified enough to like be on it because I'm not a bladesmith. So when I got called for assembly required, I was like, all right, this is like in my wheelhouse, right? Like I won't lose this. I don't know how many people that show reached. I don't know who knows about me because of that show. I almost felt like I was being used by that company to try to generate views that they couldn't get on their own. These TV shows, like they want what we have. One of the things that really turned me off about doing the show was that they wanted me to promote the show on my social media. And to me, it's like, well, I had to work for every dollar that I got paid on that show. I risked the time that I put into that to potentially win. And
you could have been taking jobs from
and good for me. I won. The prize was $5,000. I got $5,000. It was awesome. At the time, I had 100 and something thousand subscribers. I could have made a YouTube video about the show, just telling people, hey, go and watch it. But what would that have done for me, which would have done for them? I'm a lot more cautious now about TV shows, and I get asked all the time.
There's certain times where exposure is great,
of course.
But when you know your worth, when you already are in a kind of an established thing, you can pick and choose.
100%. And you generate your own perceived value, right? Like if you give yourself away, they'll take it. You know, like that's the thing about a lot of opportunities are coming out of this rise of social media, right? A lot of people are getting taken advantage of. It's happening with TikTok, it's happening with YouTube, it's happening with Instagram. Like you hear stories about kids on TikTok that are signing managers that are taking 50% because they don't realize that managers don't normally get that.
We've kind of talked about those situations not being a great representative of the maker community. Where's really like a great representative of what the community is about if you're just somebody who's
on
never...
TV.
Yeah, let's go with TV just to see.
TV sucks. There's nothing good
so,
on TV.
But that isn't that the truth? Like we're kind of falling flat when it comes to what's a great mainstream way, but slowly YouTube and internet is becoming the mainstream.
And the other thing I always tell people about YouTube and now with Instagram, with Reels, and with Facebook is we have the ability almost for free to basically get a lotto ticket that could change your life. Every time you push publish, it's basically an opportunity to maybe change your life forever. My friend Bobby Duke, he made, I don't know, 40 videos before his first one went viral. I think it was the Moana, like hook fundamentally and monetarily changed Bobby's life, changed his family's life. I mean, he just did a video with Mr. Beast. You never know when that's gonna happen, and I can tell you right now, you're not gonna have a viral video if you never make any videos. This is the machine shop, which is kind of transformed. The idea is that I'm supposed to leave the middle area kind of open so that I can do like the bigger projects, like when we did like the quad with the cage, we did it here. I've got a little lathe over there. This is a 4 foot by 4 foot plasma cutting table for cutting metal. And then this kind of moves into more of like the heavy machines. But I've got 2 Bridgeport style machines and then a smaller mill. And then back there is a metal cutting lathe. I've got a laser, another laser, and then this is a wazer. This is actually the first production wazer that was ever put out in the wild. I have had this machine longer than any other person in the wild.
What do you have here? I've never seen one of these before. Where does the journey with our brand start for you?
My K&S experience actually starts back when I was in college, when I was doing more sculptural stuff. And at the time, I was making a lot of kinetic sculpture. So I'd buy like tube to do the gear hubs, and I would buy sheet because I would cut it out with a little jeweler saw because I didn't have access to any of the cool machines and stuff that I have now. Yeah. There was used to be a hobby shop nearby, and they had a couple of K&S racks, and I'd always go in there and buy out his tube because I was making mosaic pins for knife handle. Like a mosaic pin is where you take like a 5/16 tube and then put a couple of other small tubes inside it with epoxy. So here's an example of mosaic pins that I made with some K&S material. So basically you've got a large round tube and then a square tube with a aluminum pin in the middle and then some very small brass pins around the border. So that's what I was using the K&S metals for, because I couldn't find anywhere else to get like, you know, small telescoping parts to make stuff out of that, and also using the sheet material for like liners and stuff like that. All those stores that would sell kind of like this kind of stuff isn't around anymore. So having access to this in my shop and just at like arm's reach is really huge for me, especially because I work fast and I don't usually have a lot of time to think about things in advance.
So it's good you brought up like where you can find materials and how you found them in the past, because like you said, hobby shops, more and more they're going away.
Yeah, few and far between.
And I know like for you, you want to always have maybe a place that you can go to. Well, that's why you have your own rack, which you can also have through our Shopify page. We'll have a link in the description below.
Yeah, and for me, it's like sometimes you don't know what you need. You have to look at the assortment, which is part of the reason why, like in my shop in particular, I have a lot of excess material, because sometimes when you're in the middle of a project, you need to look at a rack. You need to visually say like, all right, well, like, no, the 1/2 inch is too big. Let's go to like 3/8, whatever it is. You know, you need to have that visual aid.
And you need to have that little thing on the back of your phone too.
Yeah, and you need to have a fraction to decimal conversion chart, which you could reference on the back of your phone, put on your computer, and you can buy at www.makeeverythingshop.com/store.
Where is the source of your work ethic? Because I feel like it's a lost aspect of people's lives that they think they're owed something. So where do you get that from?
I think I got it from my parents, like growing up. Like my dad would always like work on the house at night. He'd always work all day, come home, work on the house at night. And then for me, I think that I have the ability to kind of see far out in the future as to where I want to be and what I want to be able to do. I spent so much time like chasing having the economic freedom that I wanted, to just be able to like not have to worry about it. Like I don't care how much money I have. I have no interest in like having fancy things. I just want to be able to get the things that I need and not have to think about it.
Yeah.
And I get the rewarding nature of, you know, setting this place up as an educational source for people, and that's super important to me. So every time I'm making a piece of content, not only am I like able to feed myself, but I'm also able to kind of give people back something that's watching it.
You're on record for saying this, but it could always be worse.
I mean, every time the shop floods, all I can think about when I'm done is like, this isn't my house. So I think you take the situation that you're given, make the best of it, and you just push through.
You started off BMX biking, and you know that was a dream, I'm sure, of yours. You consumed yourself with for so long.
Yeah.
And then that dream switched, and it switched into, you know, going to school for fine arts and sculpting. You've almost been able to marry all of your passions into one. You've done stuff for BMX biking still.
Yep.
What do you say to people though that have a dream that they set out on, and that dream hasn't necessarily materialized the way they want it?
For me, it's not picking one thing and saying, well, like, this is what I have to do, and like, don't let anything distract you. It's just allowing your mind and your passion to change over time. I've said this before, like there's never been a better time to learn how to do something new. I wanted to learn how to make knives. That's how I started this journey. Hey, I'm Chris from Make Everything, and today we're making a belt knife for none other than Jimmy DiResto. I wanted to learn how to make knives because I went somewhere, I saw a cool knife that I couldn't afford, and I thought, I really want to learn how to make that. How hard could it really be? I was a carpenter. So I bought a bunch of books, watched a ton of YouTube videos, I made my first knife. Then I thought, I'll make a folding knife. Figured out how to do that. Then I needed a milling machine. Didn't know how to use that, so I saved up enough money doing handyman work till I could buy one, a lathe, all these different things. You know, you trickle that up, and now I have a 3,000 square foot shop with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment, and I do a myriad of different things. Yeah. Don't be afraid to learn something new, and don't be afraid to try something new.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks guys for coming.
Absolutely.
Can I get back to work?
This guy keeps going. Sure, go right ahead.
See ya.
Ted, are you filming this? He cannot stop working. Amazing.